All right. Hey. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the Long Hill Report. I'm Richard Morchoe, and to help enlighten us, and we need it, is Gus Steeves.
I'm not entirely sure I have any lights either, so.
Okay, well, at least we're not that heavy, so maybe we can enlighten ourselves.
Maybe. What's up?
It's been a very interesting time since we last met. Joe Biden is still blaming other people for a lot of stuff, including inflation and other things. And there's still a war going on in Ukraine, which is not doing wonders for the supply chain in the world, and could cause famine in different parts of the world. And one thing Mr. Biden is not doing is calling for a peace conference, which would solidify his place in history as other than a wacko. But that is to be regretted. I will bring up, before I turn it over to Gus for a couple of points, I will point out that some congressmen have have called for a bill to stop interfering in Yemen. Yemen is a cruel war going on, fostered by Saudi Arabia and whom we support. It will be interesting to see how our local delegation reacts to this. I'm not expecting they will be stalwart.
I think that as far as that particular issue goes, I think that haven't they already passed at least one resolution saying we should be getting out of Yemen in the last 2 years or something? 2 or 3 of them even?
Maybe a resolution, but nothing that could get across.
And that's all they're doing with this is it's a war powers resolution, which is they.
Is this one a resolution?
I believe so.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think that what you sent me said that it was. And they're good at doing the talk, and they're not good at actually doing anything positive. I mean, they'll talk about ending the war in Yemen, but they're going to pump another $44 or $50 billion into war in Ukraine. They're sending more troops into Somalia.
Well, we discussed the $40 billion last,
yeah.
And Mr. Biden, he didn't exactly heavily campaign, but he said, we're going to end that war in Yemen.
Yeah.
And
he hasn't done it. Hasn't done anything he's promised, really.
No, he's ruled by a few decrees. And I saw an interesting note that because Congress has been do nothing for several decades now,
at least.
That's why the president gets arraigned by executive order, which is essentially ruled by decree.
It is. That's part of the problem. Totally.
It's part of the problem of why aren't our congressmen showing any independence? I kind of know. Yeah.
Money. They don't have any reason to show independence. They're making bank, and they're very comfortable, and they're constantly being reelected because the system is skewed against any genuine opposition. You know, and those that do get elected that are opponents end up getting bought into the system or just sidelined to the point where they just run away.
Well,
or they're so wacky nobody wants to talk to them anyway.
I remember several years ago hearing a comment that a lot of people get elected as reformers, claiming that Washington, D.C., is a sewer.
Yeah.
And then they end up treating it like a jacuzzi.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
It's not original with me, but I think it's apt.
Well, you figure Trump argued he was getting elected on the claims to drain the swamp, and he found that swamp creatures were so big that he just joined them. If he ever wasn't part of I don't know if he wasn't part of the group in the first place, but most of them are.
The thing about Trump, and it wasn't, it was all, if he had done better as running the country, it would have been something.
Would have.
But he did, no, he didn't drain the swamp, but he did beat the party of government.
He did.
And
sort of.
That was something to be seen and to be looked at. But they closed ranks. And, if anybody didn't take an emperor has no clothes moment from that.
True.
But most of the country did. Democrats are still Democrats. Republicans are still Republicans.
Yeah.
He moved he changed things in the Republican Party a bit. But they're still coming back to it. I mean, his record of who he's been able to get elected through the primary this year has been mixed at best.
Yeah.
So the Republicans are getting back to what they were, which I can't compliment. The Democrats are what they are, which I also feel I can't compliment. But it's the party of government, which is another one of my arguments is we have to move the capital out of Washington, D.C. It's just got to be moved.
Yeah.
For the same reason that Constantine built Constantinople.
Yeah.
It has to get out, even if some of the same people go, which I would hope not. It has to be moved. I like to think to a cold climate in the center of the country. Remember, once Washington was in the center of the country.
It was. That's true.
So we got to get it to the center of the country, in a place people are not excited about going to.
You mean kind of like what they did with Brasilia?
What?
Like the Brazilians did with Brasilia?
Yeah.
Or like
Brasilia,
I think South Africa did it when they moved their capital from Cape Town to Johannesburg. Other countries have done it in various other places.
When Brasilia was instituted, nobody liked it.
Nope.
For years. I don't know how it is today.
I don't either.
But I mean, when they send, when like Anthony Bourdain went to Brazil, another travel guide shows.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to Brasilia.
No.
They go to Rio.
They go to Rio.
They go
Recife
to what's the place? Bahia.
Yeah.
Which has its own problem. And they go to
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo,
Yeah.
which also has its own problems, but it's an economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
So they go to those places, but Brasilia, nah. So that says something good for Brasilia.
Well, Bolsonaro's running the show right now, so that says something else.
Well, who are they going to get? Who isn't Bolsonaro? Oh, well, they get the exact opposite. Why don't they get somebody in the reasonable center? Probably because there's no reasonable center in this world.
That may be true, but I think it's also an issue of historically, you look at people who try to push their capital away from wherever it was, and it usually doesn't succeed in any significant manner. The economic powerhouse and the culture itself is still centered in the original capital city.
Well,
usually,
when Constantine built Constantinople, that worked.
Well, that's because the western half of the Roman Empire got run over.
But it didn't get run over for right away.
A while.
Remember, he succeeded with a few fits and starts, Diocletian, who had set up a big reform of the Roman Empire.
Sure.
But he missed a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Constantine was just unbelievably brilliant to see this, because he did two things that saved Rome as an entity, maybe not Rome itself, because that was going to get overrun, and it didn't happen right away.
No.
But he moved the capital. And the other thing was he instituted Christianity, and in doing that, he stripped the temples of the gold, gave a lot of it to the churches, but what he did was he made the coin, the solidus.
Mm-hmm.
Rome had no currency when Diocletian took office, and his answer was like something American politicians will do: wage and price controls. He had the decree, and this was the word translated from Latin, the decree of commanded cheapness. And he said, we'll kill you if you don't take the denarii at the price we say, at the value we say. It was ignored.
That happens.
It happens, and it will have, and
It's happened repeatedly in history.
it's kind of, in a way, happening now.
So in effect, then, what you're saying is that Constantine's success was stealing everyone else blind,
Stealing the temples. Now that's
and then converting, and then making the church the Christian church their superior.
yeah,
In other words, he stole it blind and gave it to his friends.
but no.
That's what he did.
No, you're not listening here now. Is the Salitas? Okay, he gave money to the church. He gave gold to the church for chalices and stuff. But this coin of the realm became the Salitas, and that gold coin, that was the important thing. People could buy and sell in reality instead of having to say, okay, I got my wheat here. How about doing my shoes? That was what they would do. It was a bartering.
For a while it was, but it had gone through cycles in the past where the money was strong. By the time he came into power, it was a mess. That's true.
Yeah, it hadn't gone through big cycles. The big cycle was the crest of the wave when Diocletian took office. And that's part of the reason why Diocletian was able to reform a lot, because everybody was saying, hey, this is a sharp guy. Let's forget about barrack emperors. Let's let him run his course. He couldn't do it permanently, but Constantine was the icing on the cake.
Actually, Justinian was.
What?
Actually, Justinian was.
Constantine.
Because Constantine wanted to maintain the existing Roman Empire as he saw it.
Yes, but without.
But it didn't become. It became its own entity after that.
Justinian could not have done it without the reforms of Constantine.
That's possible.
It's absolutely. There's a number of other aspects in the old world. Byzantium was probably the perfect place to start your new city, right the juncture between Europe and Asia.
It was
I
a
hope
key
people
trade
up
point.
there, you're liking the history lesson, because, and I hope you're taking notes, because some of this will be on the Blue Book test.
Well, it was a good location. It was. I think the advantage that he had is that it wasn't a major site at the time, like Athens or the other major cities were. But it was a key trade point, and it was very much steeped in, to go back to what we were talking about before you turn the mics on, it was very much steeped in Greek history, in Greek society. But it was the crossing point between the Greek world and the Persian world, and the stuff that was up in the northern parts of north of the Black Sea, that there was a trade routes going up that way, and so forth. And that made a difference in terms of why Eastern Christianity developed the way that it did.
Yeah. And that's a discussion for 4 or 5 hours.
At least. They've written large tomes about it.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of them. It's been a busy month. We see inflation still out there. Janet Yellen, and I brought this up with the previous show today, Janet Yellen says on TV, my mistake. Now you have raging inflation, and she had been blithe about it and saying, transitory, using all those terms.
Yeah.
And now she says, well, maybe I was wrong. Now, what offends me about this is, anybody who knows me knows I'm no fan of the Brits. But if usually, I don't know how today, but quite often, if you screwed up in British government, goodbye, thanks, hey, thanks for stopping by, you're out the door.
Hasn't happened a lot lately, though.
Maybe not, but Janet, why is she still there?
I don't understand why any of the people that are running the show are still there. They should be gone a long time ago.
They reappointed Powell.
Yeah.
Why? why did they reappoint him? Why is she still there?
Because
It's the party of government.
they're all connected to Wall Street,
all
and they're all
It's all.
it's a totally incestuous circle, and we ain't in it.
There you go.
They don't care what we think.
Another reason to get that. Another reason to get that capital out of the way. Out. Get it far away from New York, first of all.
I do agree with that, but I don't know if it's necessarily any better to still maintain it as a centralized entity.
Well, you're talking here to somebody who
Maybe it's time to think about something else.
we thinks we should go back to the Articles of Confederation.
Yeah.
Who believes that heartily, and it would be wonderful to see it. But hey, I'll settle for getting the capital out and keep that on the back burner or get it to the front burner sometime. You ain't getting everything, which is the most important.
I don't know, to be honest with you, because I think in the long run, why skip the middle? Why dilly-dally with the middleman if it's not likely to work?
Well,
as opposed to, we already have the structures of state government that are much closer to the people.
really? Really?
And then,
I'm from Massachusetts.
I know, well, let me finish. They're still much closer to the people than going to D.C. is. Because D.C. is in its own bubble that's about a light year wide.
You know what?
Whereas we could literally walk down to Boston, and we can talk to our state reps and state senators. We've done it. I've done it anyway, occasionally. Whether they listen is a different matter, but you can actually talk to them. When was the last time we actually talked to the U.S. senators or representatives? I mean, the representation at 1 to 700,000 is ridiculous. That's not representation at all.
You won't get me to disagree with you.
Okay.
But we still need to change government. Which
I agree with you.
happen.
I totally agree.
And when we say we, there is no we. I know. But, let me be delirious in my own. We need to move the capital, and we need the article. Yeah, I'll give you that. But you know what? We should do in Boston. With Boston, stop having it as a capital.
Maybe we should.
Now, the people of New Braintree will shoot me for this. But remember when they had that, it was a Seventh-day Adventist school, and they sold it for the state police headquarters?
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what it was originally. But
That should have been we should have made that the capital, because it's a nowhere place. Now, I don't blame the people of New Braintree for wanting to shoot me for that.
Yeah.
But find me a better spot. It's a little bit hard to get to, and you'd have to be wanting to go there.
That's an interesting argument.
I don't know.
I think the ultimate underlying problem, though, is that either way, whether the capital's in Boston or New Braintree or Washington or somewhere out in the hinterlands of North Dakota or somewhere, or split up in various other regional capitals that end up becoming semi-independent. The issue, I think, has become the centralization of power and wealth, and and we would have to do a second stage there as well, as get the money out of get the money out of government. Have it that these people are actually paid directly. I mean, they are paid directly by the people, but they get far more money from the lobbyists and the corporate cronies and the various other people who are clustering around them, just like around any imperial court has ever had. And they invariably get corrupted, and it attracts the people who are the most corruptible, because the really good ones either look at this mess and want to change it and don't get in, or they look at this mess and run away because it's so crooked.
It's all true, but you can't have one without the other. This became a capital. It was a nowhere place until the Civil War.
That's true.
And,
it was a swamp, basically.
Yeah, and we going to another nowhere place is a good idea, like New Braintree, which I love. It's a wonderful nowhere place.
How about we take them all, we send them to a nowhere place out there somewhere.
Now
And
you
then
really,
we run
now
then we run the
reforms
show.
that I'm proposing are hard enough.
Elon Musk wants to take them. We can let him go. We just change his trajectory just a little bit.
All right, we'll make.
So it drifts off and bye.
We'll make the capital of the United States
An asteroid somewhere.
Mars, yeah. Well, actually, I rather than New Braintree, I'd actually rather change the capital of Massachusetts to somewhere, a small town in the Adirondacks, out of the state completely. Make them work for it. Eddie, you got another interesting topic. Come on, Guy, give me something to talk about.
Well, I was going. Well, this is completely radically
This
different.
is a commercial here, folks.
Completely radically different, but Maureen and I are part of the Dudley Grange, and we're doing the Strawberry Festival this year. And that's on June 16th.
Well, tell them all the people all the interesting things you're going to do.
From about 4 to 8. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on if you've ever been there. Obviously, the centerpiece is strawberry shortcakes, but there's also games and music and all kinds of other stuff going on. It's as over the years, it's kind of grown into a Dudley Hill community party without alcohol, because it's the Grange.
Who doesn't like a party?
So I was thinking of just one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit about that's directly related to that is actually agriculture, and the fact that our system, our agricultural system, is relatively broken in this country. And one of the things that the Grange has done over the years has been an advocate for agriculture and trying to change things. And I can't say I'm speaking for the Grange. I mean, we're Grange members, but we're not like on the Grange National Committee or anything like that. I'm just speaking in my viewpoint of some of the issues that the Grange historically has dealt with. Actually, one of those kind of jumped out at me when I was looking things up. It ties directly into where we are now. It kind of ties into the discussion we've been having all along before you turn the mics on and so forth, about the state the country is in and some of the stuff that we've occasionally brought up about climate change and those kinds of issues. And one of the things that the National Grange website talks about is climate change greatly impedes our nation's ability to remain among the most diverse and powerful agricultural producers. And that we need smarter energy solutions. It starts getting into stuff that's kind of makes me wonder, okay, what exactly do they mean? That don't, quote, sacrifice being on top of the heap that the U.S. system has currently been, which kind of ties right back into what we were talking about the mess that is empire. Because I don't think we need to be on top of the heap. We need a system, to get back to a system that is self-sufficient and self-supporting and helping other cultures to equally be self-supporting. Because if you think about it, the way our trade system is now is exactly backwards of what a trade system should be. We so frequently import necessities like food and clothing and other stuff from who knows where. And we are, the industries that still remain in this country are largely producing luxuries in one way or another. Stuff that isn't necessary, it's specialty goods, it's, the whole niche marketing stuff, as opposed to the stuff that everybody needs to have that's good quality, stuff that you can actually, like for clothing, for example, will last for years on end, isn't going to just fall apart the next cycle. And I think we really need to get back to that.
Well,
what's your thoughts on that?
Well, where's I can remember factories all over the place.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Those factory jobs, they sucked.
That's true.
I had one of them.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
I had one of them, and it was, hours of folding something, and, very simple.
I'm not disagreeing with that, and
Why?
I think we can do it better than that.
Well,
but,
no, work sucks for some people. Unless you've got the job you want,
yeah.
Work is work. They call play. They don't call work play.
Most of the time.
Let's work with that concept there. Work is
A four-letter
hard
word.
unless you got something that you want to do. And, you know, like they say, find something you like to do. You'll never work a day in your life. Oh, nice, it's trite. Not everybody gets that.
That's
Some people-
usually true, unfortunately.
So why did those horrible jobs that one could support a family on, and maybe see the child go to college or something, which is another thing altogether. College isn't really real anymore anyway.
It's getting to be a bit of a joke, yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we have those now? What happened? Well, we sent them overseas because workers could more cheaply be gotten
Yeah.
in foreign countries. That's part of it.
NAFTA is a big part of it,
The other thing is,
and the free trade agreements with
Yeah,
various
well-
parts of the world.
we completely fried our currency.
We did.
And
No, well, we did not. The people who benefited by shipping them overseas
When I say we,
and siphoning
That-
it all to themselves
that
benefited.
was
We didn't
not-
get it.
When did the currency die? That we know, as we know it. It died 19.
It happened slowly.
Well, it's of course, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
bankruptcy is when you declare it. It's happened before that.
Sure.
But it happened at the end of the Vietnam War. It was, all our deficits were military industrial,
They still are, for the most
and they
part.
are now still.
Yeah.
After we closed the gold window, we said to Saudi Arabia, we need something to back our gold, our currency, and it's your oil.
Yep. Basically.
So
Because we were losing our own oil by then. We had already peaked and we're starting to slide. We
After
had
we-
another peak later, like in 2010, and it's starting to slide again now.
well, whatever that is, the big point is we don't have
Right.
a real currency. So people are buying up inputs and land and stuff like that, just letting the factories go for nothing.
Pretty much.
And until we get a real dollar back, and whatever you think about the barbaric relic of gold, unless there's something that really is real backing it, the decline is just going to continue.
Well, I think part of it is because we have sold out all of the basic things that keep a society functioning. You know, I mean, like I mentioned agriculture earlier, and I think there's a key point to there that we have so undermined our own agricultural system and centralized it in the hands of corporations who just see it as yet another money-making scheme, rather than the remembering that agriculture, the key part of that is culture. You know, and that it is a system that should be the core of a community, which how many of our communities today, so many people can't even raise a tomato, never mind actually farm.
Well, you and I are, and other people in this room, are unique in that we like raising our own tomatoes. There is a multitude, and they probably way outnumber people like you and I, who would rather get it at the store. And you know, that's also a problem.
No, I understand that.
So they would think Bill Gates owning most of the farmland or buying up as much farmland as he can is progress. They would think that.
I don't know if they would necessarily think it's progress.
Well, they don't think about it much at
They don't
all.
think about it at all, exactly. Of course, it's ironic that he's buying up so much of this farmland, mostly in parts of the country that, if climate change hits the way it's predicted, is going to be basically desert. Large swaths of it.
Well, that's a big problem with the West, is that
Yep.
water, you know, you get only so much you can take out of the snowpack,
True.
because there's not really a great aquifer system. I mean, my aquifer in my land, in West Brookfield, is just flooded. I could probably for years take that, years of drought,
Probably.
and then have a good year of brutal rain and recharge it.
That's the advantage of New England.
Yeah.
We've got excellent water resources in our area. That's one of the reasons why we were able to run on hydropower for so long. Because we've got great water supplies. And but the parts of the West, we're seeing where even the Colorado River hasn't reached the sea for years, and now it barely even reaches Lake Mead. Lake Mead is dropping to the point where they're actually finding mobster-killed bodies in the bottom of the lake.
So if you're in a gang war, don't go anywhere near Las Vegas, because there's lakes around there where they can't throw you anymore. Anyway,
I wouldn't worry about it because the people in Las Vegas will be leaving Las Vegas in the not too distant future.
Don't forget the Strawberry Festival, June 16th. Who doesn't love a good strawberry shortcake or a good burger? Fries, drinks, old-time fiddlers, frog jumping, kid games, and the smokehouse, where they'll smoke you. Anyway, June 16th. And remember, don't forget my book, She Searches for Monsters to Destroy, still on sale, Amazon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. See you next month.
Have a good night.